We are back on the record. The time is 11:08. This is Media 2.
Mr. Goode, you've had a chance to go out and talk to your attorney. Is there anything you wish to change about your testimony so far?
I think on the videos we were talking about, the year was 2020 and not 2019, I think is.
What videos are you referring to?
I think we're talking about the ones that your clients released.
Okay, so you're saying the time when my clients, after you filed the lawsuit against my clients released a video online that you believe caused you harm, and you believe that was 2020, right before Christmas, not 2019, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, anything else about your testimony that you wish to change or add?
Mm-mm.
Is that a no?
No.
Okay. Because if you remember anything else, you understand you're free to add it in now. That's fine, right?
Correct.
Okay. Before we went off the record, we talked about a few things. I want to make sure that I don't miss something. Earlier you mentioned instead of bitching and complaining to the community or having things get out, you prefer to go to someone straight to where the problem is instead of making things public. Is that right?
Yes.
And so instead of using social media, you prefer to do that in private, any issue resolving, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be true to say that you've never used social media to talk about problems?
Usually after they've escalated to a point to where the person has come out publicly or it came out publicly through their elders. It's usually in response to what has occurred, but I would say I probably have.
You probably have what?
Responded in social media to people such as the RICO cases, the people that were gang stalking and cyber stalking us. Some of the same people that your clients are in contact with I would sometimes respond to them in the beginning. And that was up until just after the lawsuits. I backed out of the social media.
You're not involved in social media anymore?
I am, but I don't get involved in all of the back and forth in the community anymore.
Why not?
Because look where we are. We're here because of the lack of ethics in this community, and we're here directly because of it.
And you believe the social media was part of the problem?
Well, that was the medium used to cyber stalk and gang stalk me.
And when you say gang stalk and cyber stalk, I want to understand what you mean by those terms. So let's start with cyber stalk. When you say cyber stalk, what does that mean to you?
Being harassed through electronic medium, email, harassed online, hacking, people hacking you, which has happened. Those sorts of things. Monitoring your phone.
Okay, anything else?
Off the top of my head, no.
Okay, let's go through them in reverse order. So you say cyber stalking as opposed to gang stalking. Cyber stalking consists of monitoring phone, hacking, and also harassing through electronic mediums such as email. Let's talk about monitoring your phone. When was the last time you were aware or became aware that someone was monitoring your phone?
This is the name of the cybersecurity company that we hired out of. It's headed by and they warned me that my phone was being monitored.
When did they do that?
I couldn't give you the date. It's been a long time ago since we hired them.
What is just approximate? 2010, 2005?
It would have been after 2018, I believe. 18 or after.
So 2018 or 19?
Yeah.
And that's when you hired them?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think we hired them a little while prior to filing the lawsuits.
And when you say a little while prior, earlier, that meant 4 or 5 months before?
I don't know.
It could have been 4 or 5 months?
Could have
before?
been.
Okay. And when you say we hired them, who's the we? Is that the,
Stacy and me.
okay, so you hired them individually?
We hired them through our company, Good Enterprise Solutions, Inc.
Okay, so Good Enterprise Solutions, Inc. retained the services of in approximately 2018 or 19,
Yeah.
correct? What caused you to hire at that time?
Preparing for lawsuits.
What caused you what caused you to believe that you needed a cybersecurity company at that time in 2018 or 19?
Jay Widener, who worked for Gaia, was heading a cyber stalking group that was also trying to destroy my reputation so that they could steal my intellectual property. And we got a shitload of proof. They're a great organization. We've got an amazing report from them just on him, and they helped us uncover what was going on and who was talking to who, and helped us get enough information to be able to be brave enough to open a RICO case when everyone thinks it's stupid and going to collapse. We did our due diligence.
And your due diligence for the Jay Widener matter with Gaia was to have Red Torch investigate what the Jay Widener had done to, you said, cyber stalk you. And what was the evidence that you found that your phone had been monitored by Jay Widener?
That's Red Torch's information, and it'll come out in that case.
Okay. Do you have any information that my clients have ever monitored your phone?
Not monitored my phone, but there was information about their behaviors, yeah. Before I had filed the suit, like Roger Richards was really destroying my reputation all throughout the community through his social media, and they warned me about that, but there was no warning that the phone monitoring was going on directly from your clients.
There was no warning from, sorry. Okay, has ever said to you that my clients have monitored your phones?
They didn't specifically tell me who was monitoring my phones, but they said that my phones were being monitored. And they knew the 2 cases that we were dealing with, but they weren't specific in that when I met with them.
Did you ask them to be specific about who was monitoring your phone?
They said it was going to be all in the report. This was a high-level discussion.
Have they given you a report?
We've only received the preliminary report. We're going to receive the larger report for the Gaia case at some point, and then they will testify for us.
Does the preliminary report have any accusations about my clients monitoring your phone?
No.
Okay.
The preliminary report wasn't about your clients.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about, and let me go back just to make sure I'm understanding. When you say monitoring phone, do you believe people are listening to your verbal phone conversations?
I do not know, but I behave as if I'm being monitored in that fashion.
How long have you behaved as if your verbal phone conversations are always being monitored?
Since they told me that I needed to be careful that our phones were being monitored.
Okay. So you do not...
They being Red Torch.
Okay. So you don't have any attorney-client conversations on the telephone since 2018 or 19?
No, I don't talk on our we don't talk on our cell phone. We don't do anything on the cell phone that we don't expect might pop up somewhere. We have to be very careful, but we do send texts and expect that information to be privileged, and if it pops up, we'll know where it came from.
Okay. And you mentioned another thing. You mentioned that you were concerned about hacking. What was hacked into? But first, before I ask that question, what do you, when you say hacking, what does that mean to you?
Attempting to break into computer networks or electronic devices.
Okay, what computer networks do you maintain?
Or our websites and our local computer networks at home.
So you maintain a local computer network in a, like, is it a server that you maintain at home?
No, it's just a little cluster, like what you probably have at your house.
Okay, just a couple laptops.
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe though that someone broke into your laptop at home, or?
Some of the early reports that we got, there was a person, and he was working with me, Roger Richards, and I can't remember his name, and Mike Wiskowski some. He volunteered. He's a electronics security professional, and he's been monitoring everything for us. And before the lawsuits, he was constantly sending us reports of people trying to hack us. And that was also during the same time that David Wilcox's website, my associate, his website was hacked, and all that's public. There is a real big deal, public deal.
When you said he's been monitoring your website, who's the he?
I can't remember his name. He's the electronics security guy that I alluded to. I can't remember his name. We haven't. No, he was someone that I think Roger engaged with, because he was one of the many people that contacted us to volunteer.
Was law enforcement ever monitoring your phones to the extent you know?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And you had issues with the IRS a few years ago, right? Did you ever have an audit with the IRS?
No.
Okay. No concerns with the IRS?
Well, I do now. With everything that happened with the SBA Entertainment, Leon created a mirror company to mine, and they had me signed the paperwork to where it looked like the money was coming into my company when it was actually going into Leon's. I signed the contracts, and I signed the tax documents, and both of them tell the government and the IRS that I received all of that money instead of Leon Kennedy.
When you say you were had to sign that, so you believe you signed that forcefully, like Leon made you sign them?
I feel like it was some sort of conspiracy.
Did you read the documents before signing them?
Well, yeah.
Did you agree to them?
Well, yeah. It was a tax document.
So you didn't, this document that you say you signed, what was it specifically?
It's one of those whatevers that you...
W-4?
I don't know. It's...
Identifying who the taxpayer is?
Said, okay, we have the bank account to send it to, not my bank account. We need to tell the government that, we're sending the money, okay, somewhere. All they said was, hey, Corey, Leon said you need to sign this tax agreement. And I said, okay. Leon's the Mr. Know-it-all, whatever guy from Hollywood. All right. I was told I need to follow his, if I want to be rich and famous and all this other stuff, I got to follow his every step. So yeah, I signed it, sent it back to, and it wasn't until later on that I realized that it was completely different company names. Leon knew what was going on. His company he gave them the bank account information to send it to, and had them have me do the taxes, which makes if you do things right, you don't pay taxes a lot easier, I guess. But as far as the government was concerned, I was receiving all of this money. As far as was concerned, it was going, the money was going to my company. They didn't know that that bank account was from a different company altogether because it was the same company name.
And where was sending the monies?
Where did they?
Yeah, what company was it, the bank account? under?
SBA Entertainment or Media. There's so many companies that have been created. The one that Leon created as a mirror to mine.
And when you say as a mirror, when you signed that document, did you notice that the SBA Entertainment had a different name?
It's spelled exactly the same as mine. He set up the company to mirror mine exactly. I was supposed to be added to, and it's in the emails, I was supposed to be added to that bank account.
Oh, so you knew that where the money was going to that entity?
Yes, it's going to Leon's bank account that I was supposed to be added to at some point.
Okay, so you knew of this entity that Leon had formed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and he told me that's the way it's done. So he created it to mirror my company name. Remember this, I'm the rube that needs his help because I can't do this on my own.
Okay.
And so he sets up his mirror company to mine. Then he has the money go to his company, and he has the taxes, forms, and all of the liability stuff signed under my company.
Okay, so before that tax document came to you, you knew of the two mirror companies, and you were just trusting Leon to
Exactly.
direct things through. And you knew the work was being done by one SBA entity, and that the same name had a different tax identification number where the money was going.
I knew that he had created a mirror company to mine. I knew we had discussed it. The company was based on my intellectual property, SBA, which is my trademark. He put that in his business name and mirrored it exactly. Didn't know what was going on because the names were exactly the same. They told me they would never have allowed that type of situation if they had known.
Did you tell Leon that you wanted the money to be at the same company that was paying the taxes?
I didn't realize until later on that the tax liability was on me. I didn't realize the liability of the situation at the time.
And when was that time when you signed all of this?
During the time when we were signing the agreements for the documentary with.
And approximately when was that?
I believe this was for the first one in 2017. I guessing is really difficult on these things. It's all blends together.
And you understand, guessing means you're saying something that you knew nothing about, like you telling me how many vacations I went on last year. You have no idea.
That's your definition of guessing?
That's guessing. Estimating is you have some reason to know. That's an estimate. And so all today is about is estimates. I do want your best estimate.
Okay, if I can't give a best estimate, then what do I tell you?
You just say it was a
I don't know.
No, you'd say if you ever had a reason to know. For example, you're saying probably around 2017. Like I said at the beginning of today, you give me a range and say, Mr. Webb, I know it was more recent than 2016, but not so recent as like 2019. It's older than that. So you give me an estimate based on what you remember. Is that fair?
It is.
Okay. So when you sign these tax documents to have the money go into one account, even though the work was being done by the other mirror company, approximately what year was that?
I believe it was 2017 or 2018. I can't recall.
That's fine. And when you said I was responsible for the taxes, the other SBA entity had to file taxes for that income, right?
What do you mean?
You said I was responsible for the taxes. Were you personally being W-4'd or you're W-2'd for the monies that was coming from
I don't know.
were the monies they believe they were paying an entity, not you individually, correct?
Right.
And so that entity was submitting in taxes for those monies, correct?
I believe so. My accountants would have to answer some of this stuff, or when we're deposing the business, we would have to have time to focus on that and refresh our memory more.
Okay. Were you the sole member or the sole owner of that business that was from supposedly receiving all the monies? Or did other people own that business with you?
I can't recall. So many were created, and that on that one, Stacy might have been on some of them. I know Roger created all sorts of entities and then dissolved them and all sorts of things. They've kind of all blended together.
So as you sit here today, maybe if we put a blank in the transcript with a line in it, you could write in which entity it was that was getting hit with all these taxes. Is that fair?
I believe we could locate that information.
Okay, thank you. So we've talked about monitoring your phone. We've talked about hacking a little bit, but I want to know more about the hacking. Do you believe my clients have ever hacked, first of all, one of your laptops?
No, the hacking that was being reported occurred before my legal problems with your clients.
Okay.
That has more to do with the racketeering case.
Okay, and that's the Gaia case?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And the hacking, what about hacking into your website? You mentioned that was your website hacked at one point?
Attempts were made. My website was taken down with DOS attacks, all of that sort of thing, yes. David Wilcock, who's the person I work with, his was actually hacked and things changed and done on his website.
Does he
They
maintain
gained
his
access.
Does he maintain his website through WordPress or something else?
I don't know.
Do you maintain your own website?
No.
Who maintains your website for you other than Wilcox? Anyone?
Mike Wiskowski.
Okay. Anyone else other than Mike Wiskowski?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And Mike reported to you at one point that your website had gotten hacked, correct?
No, I believe he started helping David with his website after David's was hacked. He did not inform me I was hacked. It was the security professional guy that volunteered for us that was telling us that we were being brute force attacked and people were attempting to hack us.
Okay.
But like I said, that predated my case with your clients.
Okay, and then you mentioned also another definition of under cyberstalk of being harassed through electronic mediums. Do you believe that any of my three clients have ever harassed you through electronic mediums?
Yes.
Okay. What is your definition of harassment?
Such a simple word.
What does it mean to you?
Causing psychological intimidation and pain in people, affecting them negatively from afar. If you can't go and slap them in the face, well, you do it through the internet.
Okay, and so you believe that the emails from my client were intentionally trying to intimidate or cause pain? Is
No.
that no? Okay. Do
That's not what I. You said social media.
Okay. Let me first stick with emails, and then we'll get to social
Okay,
media.
okay.
Do you believe there's ever been an email from one of my clients where they sent it to you with the intention of causing psychological intimidation and pain?
Yes.
Okay. How many emails do you believe were sent with that intention?
Dozens, but 2 were sent with the absolute malice and intent to cause it, obviously.
Okay. When you say 2 were sent with the intention of causing pain, obviously, what 2 are those? It sounds like you remember them.
Yes, never forget them. Roger Richards sent a resignation letter, in it giving up all rights to everything he's ever worked on with me, by the way, accusing me of all sorts of things, being a terrible father, accusing me of being a drunk and all this other stuff, the same things he accused his old partner of being with when he came to work with me.
Okay. if someone accused me of being drunk, I'd kind of laugh because I don't drink much.
Well,
But
you're not a figure in the
Objection.
spiritual community.
I understand. So, but did the accusation of a drunk, did it have any traction with you?
No.
Okay.
No, it was the intent. When we go over the letter at some point, it'll be very obvious the intent was to cause extreme upset and harm. The 18-page extortion letter, on the other hand,
Well, let's stick with the first letter.
Okay.
Did that first one where he said, "Hey, I want to resign, give up all my rights. You're a terrible father. You're a
that was
drunk."
just a bunch of insults.
Bunch of insults. Did that cause you harm? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes, it caused my whole family a lot of harm.
Did
He had been a problem for a while. He was resigning in this crazy fashion, and immediately I went to Leon, and Leon didn't want him to quit, and pretty much forced Roger back into the situation. And all of that, Roger's resignation letter was pretty much the beginning of the end of all of this. And Leon, Roger's a workhorse. You got to take advantage of that. You don't find workhorses like this. And found ways to bring Roger back in. You will see in emails there's agreements that Roger wouldn't do anything basically until he finished the graphic novel, which he promised to do, because the money went to do he wanted this to go to do this idea he had to do a documentary, and then approached us, and we decided to base a documentary off of my IP. And at that point, I said, okay, if we're going to base it off of my IP, I'll let you use this money, but it has to be paid back, and we have to finish the graphic novel. He agreed. And then after the resignation letter, I told Leon, when Leon was shoving him down my throat, that he had to finish the graphic novel first.
Richards did?
Huh?
That Richards needed to finish it?
Yeah. That Richards needed to, finish that graphic novel and get it out to the customers. He responded by calling me and begging me to give up doing the graphic novel.
Who's he? Sorry.
Roger. He called me and said, I've always wanted to do movies. I just want to do movies. I don't want to do this graphic novel. Please give it up. The customers or the public will forgive you.
Okay. I want to go back to something you said earlier at the beginning of this statement, because I'm concerned. I'd like to know more about the harassment and the intentional cause and like a psychological intimidation and pain. And you mentioned that two emails were sent with malice. And the first one was this Roger Richards resignation, giving up his rights, calling you a drunk, saying you're a terrible father. And you said your entire family was hurt by this. Did he give a copy of that letter to your children?
To my wife.
Okay, but you said your entire family.
Yeah, if there's going to be turmoil in the house, it's going to affect the children, especially after my daughter had become acquainted with his daughter. All these people got to know each other very, very well. They were staying in my house. My family, my kids, they got to know these people, very closely.
At the time this letter saying, "Hey, I'm resigning," was sent, was Roger Richards and any of his family staying with you at the time?
Roger Richards or his family?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Roger Richards, when this email was sent saying, "Hey, I resign, you're a terrible father, you're a drunk," when he sent this email, was he staying with you?
No.
Okay. Did he ever stay with you after that time?
After that time period, it seems like maybe once or twice. I can't remember.
So the relationship was reconciled enough that he stayed with you one more time?
Yeah, it's pretty much, he was shoved down my throat all the time. And I had really no say, even though I was supposed to be the boss. Leon kept bringing him back in. Leon would agree. I would say, Leon, if you're going to force Roger into the situation, he needs to, Roger always started projects, and then he got passionate about something else, and he left all this stuff undone. That's what a lot of these businesses he created are about.
So did you tell Leon, no, I'm not going to work with this guy anymore?
I told Leon I did not want to work with him anymore, and he kept on pressing it and pressing it. and saying, well, what if he agrees to do this, agrees to do the graphic novel first like you want? And I'm like, okay. I send a long email saying if he does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, he can slowly start working back in as he gets my trust back.
Okay, so you send an email saying as long as he starts complying with these 7 things, he can start to come back.
What number? I don't know if the 7.
Right, 7 approximately. So you send an email saying he can come back into the fold if he does these 7 or 8 or 6 things, right?
Yes, I said he could slowly earn my trust back in if Leon was going to insist, which he did.
Okay.
And Leon basically, said, I can't do this without Roger. I need Roger. And they were like frickin' frack.
Wasn't there an incident though at the Conscious Life Expo where you were pretty inebriated and you were in a car yelling and whatnot?
Objection.
No.
No? You don't remember that?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I did not get inebriated at these events. Everyone else certainly did.
Okay, or maybe just under the influence of something?
I never yelled anything out of a car.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. And do you believe that your persona affects the efforts of what's going on for the group? Like your reputation is important to the efforts that are going on. Would you agree to that?
Well, obviously, that's why they try to destroy it on the way out.
Okay. Now, you mentioned there was 2 emails. There was one about the drunk and the terrible father email where Roger Witch was trying to resign. And
He did resign. I accepted his resignation, but he was brought back.
Okay. Brought back with your permission, right? With your approximately 7 list of provisos.
That not one of was ever done. But the thing was always... After
you brought him back.
Yeah. The big joke was I would tell Leon and Roger, stop managing me. I'm the CEO. I decide how this is supposed to happen. Y'all told me that's the way it would be from the beginning. And you tell me, yes, Corey, you're the boss. Team Corey. And then you go and do whatever you want. And other people started asking them why they were doing that, because it was so obvious. And they kept telling, well, Corey has to be managed. He doesn't know what he's doing. So... Did you believe you needed some other managers to help you with your efforts? Well, they had convinced me that I couldn't do anything without them. They had at one point convinced me that there was nothing in the entertainment industry that I could do without their assistance, which was, with everything that's going on now, was obviously not right. Sure. Did you believe you needed any assistance? Well, of course. Okay. My motto was, if you don't know something, if someone convinces you that they're an expert in it, bring them in and trust them. And Roger convinced me he was an expert in businesses. Leon convinced me that he was an expert in the entertainment industry and contracts, and that I needed nothing else except for these 2 to get to the promised land. Because they did admittedly have some experience that you did not have. They did, yeah. Right. Just like everyone in this room has experience that other people don't have. They otherwise wouldn't have been able to convince me that they were experts, which they are not. Okay, but they have more experience in some things that you didn't, and that's why you hired them, right? That's why, yeah, they convinced me. Well, they convinced me that they were experts, that they were seasoned experts in creating businesses, managing businesses on Roger's end, and Leon claimed to be every frickin' thing that ever occurred in Hollywood, everything from a script doctor expert to contracts experts, which he failed dismally on his first opportunity with us, with 1091, having the 2 movies combined together instead of being separate. Mm-hmm. So Leon's, you brought him on for his knowledge about contracts, supposed script. Why else did you bring on Leon? Because he convinced me that he was so connected and had so much knowledge in Hollywood that we would very quickly have my IP out and published. Okay, so contracts, scripts, connections. Any other reason why you brought on Leon? That's all I can think of at the moment. Okay, and
Roger Richards created LLCs, and sometimes you or Stacy would request that he would form those LLCs, right?
He would come to us with these you'll hear him on some of these calls. It's just this diarrhea of the mouth explosion of these ideas of creating companies to do our work through.
Did you agree with any of these ideas?
Some of them, yes. Yeah, some of them we didn't. Sometimes he would already have filed the LLC, and he's like, "Oh, I already started filing the LLC. I'll dissolve it. You know, he was just firing off.
So if he created something and you didn't want it, you would tell him to dissolve it, and he would.
Yeah, or I wouldn't. Most of the time, I wouldn't sign the incorporation documents or any documents. I wasn't going to sign anything until we had like contracts to manage it, which
Okay.
is ass backwards.
When you say you wouldn't sign the incorporation documents until you had a contract to manage it, what do you mean by contract to manage it?
A contract agreement from an attorney that says this IP is protected in this way, this person is entitled to this, as long as it's part of industry standard. That's one of the things I always told these guys. I want to do everything according to industry standard, and they always came back to me with like the Leon or the Roger standard. With Leon being an agent to David, instead of charging the 10%, he charged the 20%. And David thought, no, David didn't know. And Leon's not even registered in California to be an agent. And I mean,
So would you always make sure, I want to go back to something you said earlier, would you always make sure, you said that the contract agreement was industry standard, that your IP was protected in that way, you'd always make sure that was in place before you signed on incorporation docs?
before I would sign these documents that he was sending to the state, Roger was sending to the state, if you pull those up, you'll see there's no signatures on them. He was filing those, and he would ask me to sign things, and I said, I'm not going to sign things until we've run everything through an attorney. These are all just ideas at this point. They're not like agreements, like I'm going to give you this, and da-da-da-da. These are all pie in the sky ideas of his that almost never came into fruition.
And so you said, what is it that you wouldn't sign until you had that IP protected in the way you thought it should be? So you called it a contract agreement.
Well, I wouldn't sign documents for new corporations.
For incorporating or forming the corporation. So if you signed the document to incorporate the business, that meant that you'd already had some kind of a contract to protect your intellectual property.
Not in every case. I could not get contracts from these people.
Okay, so sometimes you would incorporate companies even without an agreement.
I really had no choice, you know? I mean, it was like move forward and have, a project move forward, or it was all this weird ethics that this group has.
Didn't you have a choice though to say, I'm not signing that incorporation document unless I have my IP protected in a contracted way?
There were a number of times I wouldn't sign documents until the IP was protected. But that was before Leon came in as the expert and convinced me that he was an expert in contracts and all this other stuff. He looked over and had me sign different agreements for the pitch with STX. He had me sign, stuff with 1091 as the expert. I would say, do we need to send this to attorneys, this? Corey, I've been doing this for 50 years. I know these contracts in my sleep. Blah, 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 blah. You are protected. Don't worry.
And so sometimes before Leon Kennedy came on board, you would do it that way. But after Leon Kennedy came on board, it happened a lot more that you would be signing the incorporation documents to form a corporation without the protection of your IP.
Objection.
I'm talking about in general signing papers that, and the papers that I mentioned had nothing to do with what you just mentioned.
Okay.
The contracts that Leon had me sign
Yes.
were not what you just said. So
What were they?
I don't want
Sure.
you to.
And so I perhaps I misunderstood. Earlier you said that sometime before Leon came on board, you'd allow things to go through without being papered up to protect your IP,
No.
right?
Things were after Leon came on board.
Let's do before Leon
Okay,
came on board.
before Leon came on board, as you will see in every email with Roger, I wanted everything papered up and done by industry standards.
And you always did that.
I don't know if we always did that,
So,
but that was my demand. What happened always is that I would make demands. I would say this this was before Leon came too. Roger would say, "Oh yes, yeah, whatever you want," and then things kind of just went along Roger's way.
so you didn't ensure before Leon came on board, you didn't ensure that there was always something to protect your IP?
Objection.
I'm not sure. I think I was, after the Gaia situation and after I obtained attorneys, from that point forward, I ran stuff through my attorneys, except for when Leon took over and became the gatekeeper and said everything had to go through him. And then at that point, attorneys kind of dropped out of the picture, so, as did accountants and everything legal.
Okay, so there was a time when you feel like you were not represented by attorneys until some of the lawsuits started kicking in, right?
Until some of the problems started happening. And then I saw I needed to protect my trademark. I needed to create trademarks to protect my IP from Gaia, who was stealing it.
To protect from Gaia. What year was it that came along and you realized you wanted to protect it from Gaia that was stealing it?
Objection.
Like 2017 or 16, I can't recall.
So 2017 or 2016, you realized, hey, Gaia is stealing it. I need to get some attorneys to protect my interests.
I need to file trademarks.
Okay, so that's when you began to file trademarks. Is that correct?
Yes.
2017 or 16?
That's when I started seeking out attorneys and thinking of ways to protect the IP. And then, of course, Valerie came along to help trademark.
Okay. And so in 2017 or 16, you began to seek out attorneys to protect your IP. And so from then till now, you've been good about papering things up to protect your IP.
Objection.
For the most part, except for when Leon was in control.
Okay, and so when Leon was in control, and when you say control, he didn't sign any incorporation documents for you, did he?
What do you mean?
Did he sign a formation of a corporation document in your stead that you know of?
I still don't understand.
Sure. You mentioned your control, the way you controlled things was you wouldn't sign a corporation document, an incorporation document to form a corporation until you had your IP protection, your contract in place, right?
I said that was what I demanded. When Leon was there, what I demanded and what I was manipulated into doing were always two different things.
Why wouldn't you just say, I'm not going to sign that because I'm going to stick with what I demanded?
Spend a little time with Leon Kennedy.
But answer my question. Why?
He had manipulated me and totally convinced me that I couldn't do any of this stuff without him, and that he knew all of the legal ways to handle stuff, all of the industry standard ways of handling stuff, and he would do it.
But you knew before that you'd done it without him, right?
Done what?
All this incorporation, protecting your IP, even before he was on the scene.
You're talking corporations, I'm talking the business.
Right. So for the business, you understood how to protect yourself before Leon came on board.
No, what I'm saying is that I had ideas about how to protect myself, and with things going the way they were at Gaia, I was definitely wanting to protect myself in this community, the way people are. Leon Kennedy came in, not from this community, from Hollywood, 50 years in Hollywood. He came in and convinced me and manipulated me into allowing him to take the reins, to be the gatekeeper, while the whole time calling it Team Corey, but then like quietly having them work on all these other projects and pitch other things and all of these things and telling them not to tell Corey. It was just constant manipulation, and it started to affect, the team. They didn't trust Leon anymore. After a few things with Leon, they approached me quietly and they said, Corey, I don't know the relationship with you, Leon and Roger, but We are very nervous. We've seen a lot of red flags. We're going to take the treatment that we wrote for the movie idea, and we're going to register it with the and they went and did that, registered it with because they saw what was going on, and Leon was having them lie to me, which they're going to testify to.
Okay, so in 2016 or 17, you began to protect yourself by using attorneys and protecting your IP. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was that with, when did you get introduced to
Oh, that was, I think, it was and Leon and I spoke with the guy like once, maybe twice.
Okay, I'm going to caution you not to divulge
Okay.
any
Okay.
privileged
Yeah,
information.
good point. And counsel's right. I don't want to know anything that he said to you. But did
He sent, I think, an email.
okay. Okay. And you've sought donations to fund your involvement in the lawsuits.
Yes.
And you've done that in social media, right?
Yes.
And you've been complaining to the community or voicing concerns about what's going on and asking for help, right?
Yes.
And you formed a Light Warrior Legal Fund, right?
Correct.
And what is Light Warrior Legal Fund?
It's a fund that if people want to donate to my lawsuits, they can send the money to that fund.
Okay. And are you completely transparent about that fund?
What do you mean?
About money that comes in and money goes out of it?
What do you mean?
Do you use 100% of it to pay your attorney?
100%.
Okay. And you keep an accounting or a record of those monies?
Our accountants do.
Okay. And so those monies don't go towards you personally, that all goes towards your attorneys?
100%.
Okay. Now, you had a letter of intent with Leon Kennedy when he came on board that outlined kind of what he was going to do for you, right?
I believe so.
And one of those was talent management and legal operations, right?
I believe so. I don't remember the document.
Okay. And have you ever encouraged your social media followers to make comments on other social media pages?
To like help boost another person?
Or disparage, either way?
I don't recall.
Okay. As far as the cyber stalking issue, in part of his role as being legal operations, introduced you to not just but also right?
I need more information.
Sure. Did Leon Kennedy help you with referring you to other attorneys regarding the cyber stalking issues?
Probably that would have fallen under his purview. I don't remember.
You don't remember if he did it or not?
Maybe vaguely. I really don't.
Okay. And you've always been working with from 2018 to now?
From whenever the moment we hired them, yes. I haven't been in contact with them recently. I haven't had a reason to.
Okay. Are they current on their bill? Have they been paid?
Yeah, they were paid well in advance.
Okay. So they're not owed any money, correct?
No.
Okay. Earlier you mentioned not just the cyber stalking, but you also mentioned gang stalking. I'd like to know what you mean about gang stalking. What is that in your mind?
Whether on social media or not, groups of people getting together and coordinating to go after one individual or group.
Okay. Do you believe that my clients have ever gang stalked you?
No. I don't know if that would encompass everything that they did.
Okay. You were involved with a lawsuit with a Jay Widener?
I am.
Okay, what's that about? Because we
He
spoke
was-
about all your lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
Which one is that?
RICO.
Okay, that's the Rico Gaia?
Correct.
Okay. And you mentioned that Roger Richards was destroying your reputation through social media, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And have you submitted to your attorney all the evidence of that as best as you can?
Everything that we have, unless there's some newer things that is gathered that they haven't given us.
Okay, but everything as far as documenting the destruction of your reputation on social media by Roger Richards, you've produced that to your attorney,
I
correct?
believe so, yes.
And same thing for my other two clients, any attempts of theirs to destroy your reputation on social media, you've produced that to your attorney as well, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And where did you obtain that information about my clients' efforts to destroy your reputation on social media?
Directly off of the internet.
And when you say the internet, big place internet, where on the internet were you going to find that evidence?
YouTube, Facebook groups, such as Dimensions of Disclosure has 7,000 people in a Facebook group. All my fans, of course. The Dimensions of Disclosure was built on my email addresses, my email groups and my persona.
So
They posted I wasn't finished.
Sure.
They posted the video of Leon saying it was the truth in that group.
in the Facebook group?
In that Facebook group. And, 7,000 of my closest fans seeing that information was definitely a catalyst for what came after.
And what came after?
Near ruination, complete ruination, and an inability to make money within this community.
Okay.
It took a lot of people a while to start figuring out what was going on. They turned everyone against me. They made phone calls. They had every little group that was, and we are going to have people testify to this.
Who would testify to this?
Different people in the community that have sent us emails saying, "Oh, I was at this function and I heard da 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 da." Oh, da 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 da. We have a lot of that different types of information that may have already been produced.
Do you have any names of any of those people?
No, I don't remember the names of all the people in the community.
Do you keep a list somewhere of the people that you intend to call as witnesses?
I don't. I'm sure my attorney does.
Okay, so you provided those names to your attorney?
Yes, and I've provided names and screenshots, all those types of things I provide to my attorney.
Okay, so all the names that your attorney has given us, all the screenshots, that's all of it. You don't have any others?
Unless, I think so. I think I've given everything to her, and I think she's reached out to all of these people.
How recently was the most recent time where you gave an additional screenshot to your attorney about evidence of that ruination of your social media presence?
In the last few days, probably.
Okay. And outside of the last few days, how much was the most recent? Was it a week before that or a month before that?
It's hard to tell because I'm constantly sending this information in for both cases. So I couldn't really tell you.
When you say both cases, what are you referring to?
RICO.
Okay, and when you say RICO, you mean the Gaia case?
The Gaia case, yeah.
Okay.
Jay Widener has been in contact with your clients, and he's been nice enough to make posts about it, and we, of course, capture that.
Sure. How many names do you believe you've sent to your attorney for additional witnesses that you've discovered in the last month?
The last month? Probably haven't sent new witnesses recently.
Have you sent any in the last month?
Okay, we're getting into communications. Let's move on.
Okay, and I'll rephrase the question. Have you discovered any new witnesses in the last month? As far as any concerns about what my clients have done?
Yes. I think it was in the last month. Someone sent us an email regarding more about the DVDs. Okay, ask the question again.
Sure. Within the last month, have you discovered any new witness names that would show support for your claim that my client hurt your reputation?
No, not.
So no new names in the last month?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, how about in the last 3 months? Any new names in the last 3 months?
It's been a while. No, not in the last 3 months. We haven't had new witnesses come forward. You more than likely have all the names.
Okay. How about in the last year? Have you had any new witnesses in the last year?
If I couldn't tell you.
Okay, but at least in the last 6 months, you're saying no new witnesses as far as anybody telling you that they witnessed something about hurting your reputation, right?
Correct, yeah. See, a lot of the people stopped talking to me altogether after the videos came out. And then people, started, approaching me, asking me about it after a time period. But
Okay, and you said earlier there were cyber stalking campaigns around 2018, right?
those go all the way back to 2015.
So starting in 2015 all the way until what year?
Current,
Current. And that Jay Widener is involved in those?
yes.
Do you believe that my clients are involved in those?
And involved in what?
In those cyber stalking campaigns?
I know for a fact, and we are looking forward to depositions, that Roger Richards has been passing information through Jay Widener that's been popping up in the cyber stalkers.
And is that information that's been given to Jay Widener false?
Yeah.
What do you believe about the information that Roger Richards has given to Jay Widener? What do you believe is false about that information?
All of the allegations that Roger Richards makes about me are false.
Okay, what do you believe
And-
his allegations to be?
Well, I don't know specifically, other than things that have, popped out here and there that we'd have to refer to our notes on. But
Do you know any of the allegations that Roger Richards has made about you that are false?
to
To anyone?
anyone? Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not a serial abuser of women. What all else? My God, there's all. It's just a big feeding frenzy of backstabbing and gossip.
Anything
that
other than
he's
those
from.
three, alcoholic, drug addict, serial abuser of women, any other allegations that Roger Richards has made about you?
There are, I can't remember right now, but those are the ones that jump out.
Okay.
And also the ones that, he, in his 18-page extortion letter, he laid out that and much, much more. And then he made the extortion threat. And then Leon and Adrian made sure that threat was carried out through those videos. Because they said exactly the stuff that he said he was going to tell anyone who would listen in his extortion letter.
He being Roger Richards?
Roger Richards.
Okay. And you said earlier that you know for a fact that Roger Richards passed along information to Jay Widener, information that assisted in cyber stalking. How do you know?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
He passed information to Jay Widener about the cases, the lawsuits.
Okay. And what was that information that you believe he passed along to Jay Widener?
I have to refer back to Jay Widener's public comments.
Okay. So you're saying the public comments where he attributed things to Roger Richards?
I just got off the phone with Roger Richards, and he said blah, 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 blah.
And you produced a copy of that to your
Yeah.
attorney, right?
Yeah,
Is that a yes?
yeah.
Okay. Understood. Counsel, it's 12:05. I'm fine to keep on going, but I'm also fine to take a break.
It's up to Mr. Goode.
I can go a little bit longer, then we'll have some lunch, I guess.
Sure. So the allegations, alcoholic, drug addict, serial abuser of women. Let me deal with the most sensitive one first. Have you ever abused a woman?
Never.
Okay. So, ever been accused of that other than by Roger Richards?
No, never been accused of abusing a woman.
Ever been accused of harming a woman in any way by anyone other than Roger Richards?
No.
So he's the only person.
Yeah. Well, him and your other clients.
And the drug addict, what drugs do you partake, albeit on a recreational basis?
Marijuana.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. So just marijuana on a regular basis. Do you consider yourself an addict?
No.
Okay. Who would you consider an addict?
Objection.
At what point would you consider someone to be addicted?
If they can't function without it, I guess.
Okay. Can you function without it?
Yeah, functioning right now.
Did you take it this morning?
No.
When was the last time you partake?
I took a edible last night to help me sleep.
And how long do you believe how long do you believe the effects of the edible are with you?
No more than like 5 hours usually. You wake up in the middle. It's like taking, what's the other stuff you take? Melatonin. It just helps you sleep through about half the night, and then you wake up.
How large of a dose of an edible did you take last night? Okay. And how often do you take that?
Only when I know I need a good night's sleep.
Okay.
Getting to sleep is the problem, not sleeping.
Okay. And you mentioned accusations about alcohol. What's your relationship with alcohol?
I've drank here and there. I haven't had a drink probably in 3 months. I had a, margarita with my Mexican food. At this altitude, drinking is stupid anyway, but I am not a drinker.
So for 3 months, you haven't had a drink right now.
No.
Was there a time years ago where you would consider yourself a more heavy drinker?
During times when, during all of this, what hasn't been noted is that I had 5 very close family members die within 4 years. And I had a major cyber stalking campaign that was affecting my marriage. There were times to where, like, if I had to fly out somewhere to go to an event, that I would drink on the plane. But I didn't drink at home. The only time I would drink is when I would usually have one drink when I was on a plane just to chill me out a little bit because I don't like flying. But during time periods of heavy cyber stalking and stuff, I would consume a little too much on the plane, but not enough to be a nuisance to anyone.
Okay. Like earlier I mentioned that car
Yeah.
at some event. Do you believe that you may have drank a little too much on the plane that day on the way to that?
I have no idea.
Do you
You fell? Oh.
have you ever on occasion, are you familiar with brownout, where you don't remember quite everything?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Have you ever been told that you might have browned out?
I don't think so, no.
No one's ever told you that.
My wife hasn't, no. And that's the person that would have told me. She's known me for 30 years.
True. Should we take a break? Lunch?
Do you want to keep going?
Well, let's go a little bit longer.
Well, it's 12:10, so I think I'd rather stop and honor
Okay.
my word that I told people we'd be taking a break. So let's go off the record.
Going off the record, time is 12:12. This is the end of meeting 2.